Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of When Humans Talk. Well, I mean, if you've been here long enough, or just for the few episodes we've had, you'd realize that what we're really all about is actually restoring the identity of men, and through restoring the way we see the Father. I think the way that we interact with the Father, God the Father, plays a huge role in how we actually see ourselves as man and woman. So this platform is really just designed for us to come have conversations where we can actually, have certain ideas or certain things that hold us bondage being restored or just reframed, so that we can live a life that's actually pretty much freeing, and actually also just acknowledge how human we are. And that though we serve such a divine Father, that there's also a reality of us being human, and we can see that through Jesus Christ taking on the form of man and coming to earth and living a life that we should model our lives after. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about today's conversation. I got a brother that we grew up in the same town. Yeah, is Polokwane a town or a city? It's a city. Yeah, I think tiny though. Yeah, I mean, we grew up in the city of Polokwane, Limpopo, Raye, Polokwane. I think we met at church.
Yes.
Funny enough, I was thinking about this story the other day. I was like, where did we meet? And I was like, oh, it was church. Was it Light of the Nation?
Yes, it was. But before church, I think we met. I think we met in a battle.
In a dance battle. You used to dance too.
We were in a dance battle.
Yeah. That's dope.
Then we met at church.
Yeah. KGABO Legora. How do I say it? Legora. Yeah. See, I mustn't doubt my sepedi. Yeah. Awa ke nna mopedi le ska lebala gape re ska re dingo di re ngwe la re khanthar tsebor gae guy. How you doing, bro? Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm excited that you're doing this.
Oh man, I actually I think every day we get to do this, I'm like, oh yeah, we actually really doing this.
Good, bro.
So I think, and I like the fact that it seems like I would actually just encourage somebody, just start whatever it is that you want to do, because I'm realizing the more we have these conversations, the first few ones I was having, I was like, yes, hey, I'm off.
Yes.
But I realize the more I have conversations with people that I actually value and have some form of level of relationship with, that they so much better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Where you at? How's your heart?
Jeepers.
Oh wait, let me not start like that. Cool. Sorry. Let's just start off light. Let me take it back 10 steps back. Okay. Let me ask you. I got some fire questions here.
Okay.
I learned from my wife that you shouldn't throw people deep.
You're gonna break the ice.
Yeah, let's break the ice.
Okay.
And break the nervousness in the voice.
Let's go. Let's go.
What's one habit from your childhood that you still secretly have today?
Secretly.
Yeah, like you just not like
Damn. Your next one. I'll come back to it.
Alright, cool.
I'll come back to it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
If okay, let's do this one.
Yeah.
Who was your childhood hero, real or fiction?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Goku. That was my guy.
Come here, man.
That was my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, every day, 4 o'clock, tube.
Oh yeah.
Guaranteed.
It's nearly SABC too.
Straight. That was my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Why Goku?
Yeah. No, it was just dope. I loved anime. I loved drawing. That was my thing.
Oh yeah.
So I was really, really obsessed with anime. So I was like, that was my guy.
Yeah. I think I actually enjoyed Dragon Ball Z also, because I also like drawing.
Yes.
So there were some of the like nicest characters to trace and draw
Very.
and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What's one thing? Nah, let me ask you this one. If your wife had to describe you in one word when you're stressed, what would it be?
She was gonna love this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She doesn't like it when I'm anxious or stressed, bro. She
Yeah.
hates it. But she always say like, you look like you're in a tiz.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I'm just like, I'm really agitated when
Yeah.
I'm like anxious, or I'm really agitated when I'm stressed. Like
Yeah.
I'm not me.
Yeah.
Which is why I try and manage it as best as possible. But yeah, she doesn't, because she's the complete opposite. She's like really chilled.
Yeah.
Like, even if she's anxious, you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, bro,
The
the switch flips,
It's
bro.
evident.
Yo, very evident.
All right, bet. What's one thing about marriage nobody warned you about that now makes you laugh?
That's a nice one. I think what no one tells you about is it's not about you.
Yeah.
They don't tell you enough, at least.
Yeah.
But like, I laugh at it every day because I'm just like, and when you're a dad, it's more heightened.
Yeah.
But like, I think by Jesus' standard, it's like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think that is like, I didn't hear that enough before marriage, but when I got into marriage, I'm like, yeah, no.
It's got nothing to do with
No,
me.
no. Yeah.
All right, bet. I mean, every time we talk about marriage and stuff like that, I always say that if somebody actually told me the weight and the cost of what it really means and the price you have to pay to actually be a husband, if they really gave me the true idea of what it is that I actually discovered once I got married, I probably would have never got married.
Yeah. I fully agree.
Yeah.
I don't know, at some point when we hit like 10 years, and I think one night my wife asked me like, would you still do this again?
Yeah.
I'm like, I would definitely marry you again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But if I had to do marriage again, like God forbid my wife dies and I have to think about, am I doing this again? I'd be like, psh.
I'm out.
I'm not sure. It's a big cost. It's a big cost. Yeah.
It is, and I think I'll get back to the script. Yeah. I think also the world that we live in, it kind of, and I see it with church a lot of times. We encourage people to get married, very like just get married, get married. And I get it. I understand why churches encourage marriage, right? It's because there's a level of stability, structure that it brings. You become somebody you'd never become if you're not married, if you're single. And not to say if you're single you can never fully become something great, but it's just like I realize I'd never been the man I am now if I didn't have some of the things that marriage brings out of you. It forces you to sharpen inside of you. And I'm like, do you think that we do people justice by encouraging them to get married without telling them the true cost?
You know what I just learned now, a bit more recently, is I guess I've probably walked a bit longer with God than I have been married. Yeah. Right. And so one of the things that, most people, when you have to consider following Jesus, you have to consider there's a lot of things that I got to leave behind, right? It's costly, like what we're talking about, right? Yeah. And so if you use the same analogy with marriage, it's the exact same thing. You are signing up to be selfless for the rest of your life with someone else. And so I think that, are we doing people justice? Yeah, people should get married. Yeah. But just know that it's not going to be easy. Yeah. Same as with any other thing in life. It's not, you don't like, I love this word, and every time I think about it, and I meditate a little bit more on its sanctification, which is just this journey, this thing that I'm doing now, that I've signed up to do, is going to refine me every day. Yeah. So is following Jesus. Yeah. It's going to refine me to the point where I look a little bit more like him than I did yesterday. And so marriage does that. Yeah. If you do it the right way, marriage does the exact same thing that your walk with Jesus does. when you walk with him.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels like you could, there are times where I'm praying and I'm like just thinking about how God relates to us. If we are his bride, how selfless he continuously is and has been. Yeah. And that doesn't stop. Even when you're full of nonsense, he's still there, right? And he's still covering. And so I think, like back to your question, are we doing this thing justice by saying people should get married? But as the scripture says, count the cost.
Count it.
Understand what you're signing up for. And I think even with salvation, sometimes I feel like, I wish I knew what I was signing up for. And I said yes to Jesus because damn, this is like, the older you get and the further you get with your walk with God, I feel like the cost just feels like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with marriage. It's like you better know what you're signing up for. I guess like that's why I like having a community of like married people that have been at it for a while. Yeah. Do your therapy, do your premarital, just so you understand what you're like getting into.
Yeah.
And you're not like you're surprised when you're in there like, nah, that's not what I signed up for. Yeah.
That's pretty dope, and it's triggering this idea with what it's actually what you just said, to say even with salvation there needs to be a cost calculated for it. And I'm realizing, I'm like, actually I think it is more wiser for people single, right, to actually count the cost of their salvation before they actually get to count the cost of anything else.
Not as with anyone, bro.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's pretty dope. So tell me this, growing up and the way you interact right now with everybody, your relationships, your different kind of relationships, and not just marriage, growing up, who or what shaped your idea of relationships?
I think largely, I spend a lot of time with my mother. So I think largely she shaped kind of like my emotional compass and mental stuff and the good and the bad. Yeah. And you, much later in life, as you grow up, you realize what's what, where the influences all come from. I think even just family, friends, community. I think like the spaces that I was most present in, where there's like the guys that I dance with, the guys that I play soccer with, my sports teammates. Yeah. So I think whoever I'm in highest proximity with really influenced how I kind of do things. But I think from a more spiritual level, I'll forever say this, but my grandmother like shaped me inwardly, very like spiritually a lot. Yeah. I can't even like put my finger on it, but I know that like whatever that woman, whatever prayer she was praying, damn, like it worked. For sure. I even remember like when we were laying her to rest and my aunt asked me to pray, and I was just like, it broke me because I was like, I know for a fact that part of my salvation I owe to just what she prayed. Yeah. And so I think, it's a mix of like the people that I was in highest proximity with really influenced me in how I relate. But also, I think I kind of like, I don't know, from an early age, I feel like I just decided what the kind of person that I wanted to be and the person I didn't want to be. Because I think I observe a lot. Yeah. I observe and I look and I watch and I'm like, do I want to be that? Do I want to follow that? Do I want that? Yeah. So I know that I'm very malleable. So like I know that I'm easily influenced. So I have to put a lot of ring fencing and boundaries around myself about what comes in. Yeah. Because I think when I was growing up, I was really like influenced by friends and television and media and all these things. And I think the older I grew, I could see what was trickling into me, my system. So yeah.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, the next question I wanted to ask you was, if you were talking to your younger self, what would you like tell yourself to protect from or guard yourself from, and also what would you encourage your younger self to run towards more to?
Okay, those are two questions.
What you guard from and what you'd run to?
Guard from, I would say, Yeah, so I'm going to answer that second one first. But I think what I would run toward, I think, is this people that celebrate me, people that want me, people that acknowledge me for me and want me. Because I think my childhood really like made and broke me in some good and bad ways. But I think that I didn't, as a kid, like, I think that the spaces that were negative really impacted me a lot more than, and so I feel like I didn't have the quota, capacity, intelligence, whatever you want to call it, to like just be fixated on the spaces that are positive. So this was 3-4 years ago, I got diagnosed with like clinical depression. And like one of the things is just like there's a certain level of chemicals in your brain, of serotonin, the feel-good chemicals, that you don't have like a natural propensity to positive, optimistic stuff. And so the negative really just fills the space very quickly. And so I think in my adult times, I'm just like, I push myself to gravitate towards the spaces that are more positive, because the negative is really loud in me. I think that answers both questions, actually. Yeah.
Man, like, so now you married, right? And we're gonna touch more on the mental diagnose that you got. Now you married. What's the one thing, or what are the things that you get married, and they pop up as a surprise for you, like things that you didn't know about yourself before, and now you get married, and then you discovering these things now about yourself that are like a surprise. What are some of those things, and how did you navigate some of those?
I think probably when we hit about 5 years, I realized I was really insecure. And that one hits the surface in a very interesting way. I think I was very insecure, meaning that voices that are affirming or acknowledging like really stand out when you're insecure, right? And so I remember actually saying that to you one time, and so that was a thing. But so when we did the love languages thing in premarital, and figuring out like what's your thing, and I'm like, mine was acts of service and like physical touch, and my wife was just like kindness and acts of service and gifts. And I remember like along the way, like as things move on, I'm like, and when people would affirm me in whatever spaces, work, work and friends and family and whatever, it's just landing differently now. It's like really hitting home. But at the same time, it was around the time where I was like really like a bit overweight, right? So physically, I'm like going through these things where I'm just like, I'm insecure, and the voices that speak to when they say you look good, you're like, really? Okay, so that's one. So I think like insecurity was one that came up, and then I think two was how much I need guys, men, consistently in my life. That one hit me like a ton of bricks. I think we guys are very like have like especially when you're like when your career is popping off, family, marriage, and the spaces where you're hanging out with your guys is very like just an event. Let's have a braai, or like, okay, once a month let's have a braai. And so it's no longer a doing life together, but it's very like we'll see each other when there's either something reason to see each other, or there's like we make a thing out of it. And for me, this is me. I don't think it maybe doesn't apply to everyone, but I needed guys that by the week I am checking in with guys and guys are checking in with me. just because like life was like really rocking me. And so I think that was one thing that I had to intentionally start shifting. It was like, I literally started asking certain guys, you are going to be in my corner. Week by week, we are checking in with each other. And it was reciprocated. It was not like one way. But so I think, one was insecurity. Two was community. I think the third one, which I mean, like we just had 10 years of being married last year. I think that financial guidance still matters even as you go. I'm at this age now, like I'm about to turn 36. And I think about, and I'm not employed. I'm employed, but I'm not employed. And so I think about what is retirement for me, right? Like my mother just retired a few weeks ago, and I'm like, you retire, government gives you have what you get every month, or you get your lump sum at the beginning. But I'm like, you as a freelancer, what is the plan? I've got 4 kids, and they will go to high school soon enough. They'll go to varsity soon enough. What's the plan? And so I think that financial, I don't know if it's guidance or like planning is the thing. It's not catching me off guard, but it's a lot more like it's in my face. Matter, So I think those are the 3 things. I think insecurity, community, and financial planning.
Man, first of all, bro, I think I commend you for your ability to be vulnerable enough about weaknesses and strengths. Because I don't think the normal guy or the everyday average guy is that comfortable to actually acknowledge something like, hey, I'm insecure in this, or hey, I'm not as strong in this. I need man to come around me and actually, let's do this thing together. So I commend you for that. And I also want to find out, because I think insecurity is something as man we don't really talk about. We cover it up in any way we could find to cover it up. How did that impact your leadership in your home?
Yeah, that for me, my firstborn is a boy. He's turning 11 in a few months. And bro, this guy, his body, I can tell he's growing, and his body is built like mine. And I think for a guy, there's no like harder thing to face in the mirror than looking at your son and thinking, do I want him to be like me or to be the better version of me? And because it's a boy, like there's a different lens that you have with your daughter. Like, let's be real. And I think that with my kids and leading at home, the hardest part is knowing that you are broken and wanting to lead in a way that isn't from that place. There's context to everything, to how you lead. I genuinely like feel like I know that I struggled with a short temper, so I have to like check my fuse with my kids, right? I know that like if I'm diagnosed with clinical depression, what does it look like to have positivity in my home? Like I know that I'm a freelancer, so like time is my commodity at home, but my kids need to know that I value them in my time as well. So I think that I try as much as possible to see where my shortcomings, and just God, give me the grace to not lead from a broken place. I am broken, but you're mending. I'm on a mend, right? And so like, and I mean, this is the beautiful thing I feel about marriage is that I will not be on my best every single day. And that's where my wife really rocks as the rock star in our home, because on my broken days, I had a short fuse, yelled at my kids. By the time I come back to like just apologize, she's already covered all of that stuff. And she can see, like if we're in the kitchen together, she can see that, okay, the voice level is going up a little bit. She'll be like, okay, guys, let's go watch something. And it's not a, how do I say? It's not her trying to cover my stuff, but she's covering me. And so even on her days where she's whatever, I think that the beautiful thing about leadership is how do you lead? You don't lead by yourself. This is the stereotype I feel about men, that when you're a leader you are leading with people beside you, under you, above you. And so a leader knows how to lead, I believe. And so there are points where Jesus walks and he delegates. There are points where Jesus walks and he acknowledges when he's weak. I'm thirsty. Right? And so I don't, my posture in my home is that I am not the bravado. I don't carry a sense of bravado in my home. I serve. I lead, but I lead with serving. There is direction, but in this direction, everyone is going to pull in toward that. And that's why, like, I feel like my wife has been so great with this, because the conversation of submission, which is, I probably think we were going to get there naturally in this conversation, is that submission has never been a topic to talk about. We have, like, I can count in one hand the amount of times, and it was indirectly where we've talked about, let's talk about submission. Or I say, let's talk about leadership. It's a rare thing, because the underlying text in the scripture is that submit to one another as well, which doesn't make the light of day as much when we talk about this. Anyway, I rambled a bit.
No, I'm
don't
stop.
yeah.
Bro, man, like, I think I'm falling in love with you, bro.
Bro.
But here's another thing I want to find out. Community, right? I once heard this idea. Matter of fact, I know of this idea, that masculinity can only breed masculinity. Meaning femininity can't breed masculinity, and masculinity can't breed femininity. It has to be masculinity breeding men, meaning man need man. Like what you were saying. What has your community of man taught you about being a man?
Great question. You actually just triggered something in my head. Back in those days at the church, that youth church we were in, they used to teach this thing called they were heavy on honor. They were heavy on, like, older generation and younger generation. Others will call it mentorship. Others will call it discipleship. I was in that church, it was called like a father-son thing. And it appealed to me a lot to be closer to someone that's a bit older than me, who has a bit more experience, just because I was drawn to wisdom quite a lot. I don't know why, but I never really wanted to learn from my own mistakes. I was just like, if I can avoid that, please, I'm cool. But the best way to avoid that is being around people that have the experience. And so I think for me, the community of guys that I have around me, I have my varsity mates, one or two high school mates, but the ones that really over the last, I would say 12, 15 years that have really stuck are guys that are a bit older than me, because I've gleaned and I've leaned on them heavily, because they are seasons ahead of me. They are like, they understand where I am and have been where I am. And so I try as much as possible to be consistent with checking in with them. That's one. And then I think in the last 2 years, 3 years, I have this prayer. And, when the first time when I, like, in the Bible, when I read about David and Jonathan, damn, what a story, bro. And, like, I was just like, yo, man, I wanted Jonathan in my life. Jonathan and David it wasn't this is my boy, we do ride or die, whatever. Yeah. Bro, Jonathan was one of the guys that called up David of his nonsense when he was messing up. Yeah. And for me, it was just behind me, in front of me, but we're moving. Yeah. And so I think I what I've done is I know who my boys are. Yeah. And then, but I also know who are the guys that I can speak to that are really gonna tell me my nonsense. And so I've really I've really prioritized in the last 2 years to have guys that I can call. I know that if I text or send a voice note to this particular group, within the next hour, someone is either gonna call me or text me, and I don't have to think about that. But then there are certain people that I'm like, if I text you, I think this guy's gonna call me only later in the evening. Yeah. You know, and that's fine. There's a space and place for every single guy. But I think that to prioritize knowing what's your inner circle of guys. And I think this word, these terms that guys often have of this is my boy in Jaga, my homies. Stereotypically in spaces, especially when conversations of GBV come up and it's but what are these guys saying when they're sitting together? Oftentimes is you can have a community. There's communities that are good, and there's just communities that are just a breeding ground for nonsense. Yeah. And so it is important for you as a dude to know what's what. Yeah. Because every guy knows which guy I can go to hype me up, to get up to nonsense. Yeah. And then every guy knows which guy I don't want to go to because he's going to call me out. Yeah. Every single dude probably has that, knows that. But I think for me, I'm big on dudes and dudes just being in each other's corner in a good way, in a refining way, in a supportive way, in a healthy way.
That's dope, bro. Your relationship, because I realize a lot of guys run away from healthy men that call them up, because there's a level of submission, even as bros, there's a level of submission that I owe to you, right? If we bros, I actually, matter of fact, there is a level of submission, meaning I'm okay with being under your authority at certain given times. So when you approach guys that call you up, and I go one of my boys used to make me mad because I'll be like, bro, my wife tripping. She losing her mind. This woman crazy. And he'll be like, but yo, all right, cool. What contribution did you do? Did you really have to handle it that way? Because you have a responsibility to respond. Good. And it used to annoy me because I would have to submit to his counsel in that moment, but it would calm the fire inside of me.
Why do you feel like you should lean into that? Why do you think you should submit to him, to listen to him at all?
Well, I mean, because it's also the understanding of wanting to be teachable and win at this thing.
Great. That's why. But that thing here of wanting to be teachable is the counterpart of that is pride. Yeah. The counterpart of that is an ego. Yeah. The part of that is that I can do this thing. Yeah. Right? And so the hard thing, I don't know what it is, bro, in our chemical system or in whatever is in a man, that to heed wisdom or to put aside your pride or your ego is so hard for us. Yeah. It is hard, bro. It is so hard. Yeah. And so if you can jump over the hurdle of, I'll give you an example, bro. My kid, René Rola, when you speak to an adult or to an elder, right? And you're a bit cheeky in your tone, or you did something that's a bit, the one thing they will say to me, I'm not your friend. That's not tagao. Don't talk to me like that. Now, let's sit with that one just for a little bit. Yeah. I said, you know what? I have a thing with my kid. I'm like, bro, did you just puff up and change your tone, nigga? Yeah. And I'm like, and I hit them with one of those. That's not tagao. Yeah. But then my wife was like, yo, bro, yeah, hey man, these guys. Then my wife was like, dude, that is a very bravado, puffed up response to say as not tagao. Great, he should have tone matters in communication, but you need to be able to teach him that it's not a, hey man, do you know who you're talking to here? Yeah, that's fine. That's how we grew up, but doesn't mean that it's okay. Yeah. And so what I'm talking about is the fact that, and what I'm talking about is, nigga, real quick. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But it's hard to be teachable when you have to fight over the hurdle of pride and an ego in it. And so when you say your boy is calling you and it's like, what did you do? And you're like, what's your internal struggle is your ego in that moment in time. You're like, it's not my fault. It's her. It's not me.
She should have not said that.
Exactly.
So, has it always just been easy for you to be?
Hell no. Hell no, bro.
To be submissive to counsel, to be vulnerable.
To be vulnerable, yes. I don't know why. Yeah. That's my wife loves this part, and she sometimes has it as a sense of pride in it. Yeah. She's like, I don't have to stress about this guy not telling me what's on his heart.
He gonna tell me.
He gonna tell me.
I think I do the same thing with my wife.
Yeah, but I overdo it. Not that I tell her everything that I'm feeling and thinking, but as in I could go through the highs and lows in a day, in every single thing, and I'm gonna tell her just everything. And there was a night where she's like, yeah, please.
Not today.
Not today. Which leads me to the point of we've had this conversation, which is I don't want to be the start and end of everything. And so I've had to reel myself back and just take some of those things and just put it in my community of oaks and guys that are with me. That's such
a good thing. Hold on. Put a pin on that. How did you discover what you need from your wife and what you should get from your guys? Because
it depends. It depends what I'm trying to get out of my sharing. Because oftentimes, when we share, it's either to find relief, or to find advice or an opinion. I think that I've had to learn, when am I sharing for an opinion and when am I sharing to soothe. And so there's things where I share with her, she's like, I think this is for your therapist.
Don't put that on me.
Don't put that on me. And I'm like, yeah, valid, sure, I get that. And then there's the part where it's like, I think you should talk to your boys about this one. And it's not that I'm spewing and I'm just going all out with everything. There's wisdom with stuff. But it's helped me know that, okay, Sharp, I've had a hard day. Say for instance, let me give a practical example. I go on tour. We're traveling Europe, gone for 3 weeks. And I'm like, am I calling my wife every day? Or am I checking in with my boys as well? And so I remember before leaving, I said to one of my friends, my accountability partner, I said, bro, I ask you one thing. Check on me every night at this time. If I'm too busy, I'll send an emoji, a flag, a red flag, green flag, whatever. If you see a red flag, call me. I will stop everything, whatever. But having that check in place, also for my wife, it's he's covered, even if I'm not covering him. Because, bro, to be honest, you know this. Your wife isn't going to feel like covering you every single day.
True.
days where you guys just were logging heads in the morning. I was like, I'm not trying to like check in on you, bro.
Yeah.
But to have another guy in your corner be that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm like, I'm like, okay. There's a great importance in that, right? And I'm like, how do I put my words? I'm trying to like, what was the moment you realized that I need this?
Community.
Yeah, I need it. Like, and also just realizing that, because I think a lot of people put pressures on their spouse for them to be something that they're not, and I think it's it's unique. It's not a cut and paste for everybody.
Yeah.
Because
There is one defining moment. I think during the time when I was like closer to the diagnosis, and I remember just, like marriage was really tough at that point.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the things that we were dealing with in couples therapy was like, dude, which is what you were saying about guys, I don't know why though, is I don't want to be your world.
Yeah.
You know, like that statement that people make when they get married, oh, you're my world, you're my everything. And it's like, it's actually not healthy.
Yeah, that's unhealthy.
And that's when, for me, when I got that reality check, and it was I don't want to be your world.
Yeah.
Like, you love me with everything, but to be the end and be all of everything is actually overwhelming to one human. Yeah. It's like, imagine like an infant when they're crying, bro, they want the boob. Yeah. And that boob is coming from one person. It's not coming from you. Yeah. And so it's like every single time that person cries out of hunger, it's not for you, it's for that. And so can you imagine in your adulthood, someone experiencing that? Yeah. I mean, I had to deal with that. I'm like, oh, damn, actually, that sucks. Yeah. And so I kind of like, I did that check with myself. And I'm like, yeah, I think let's build the corner. Let's build the guys that are, let's build new relationships, better relationships, stronger relationships. Because I wasn't doing a good job at being intentional with building better relationships with guys around me. My wife is and I've said this in a different podcast, she is a rock star, bro, at friendship. It is her thing, right? And so she knows how to do it in a really great, healthy way. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I'm learning from her quite a lot of things. And so, yeah, it's balanced me quite a bit.
I want to talk about mental health. So when you first got diagnosed, how did you see yourself in the mirror after that?
I mean, like now, like it doesn't end.
Yeah.
One of the big words I think with like any form of like mental journey is regulating. I think that, like I said in the beginning, I think insecurity was one thing that I had to like deal with. Yeah. Where does it come from? Why? How do I regulate when I feel that I'm insecure about anything? Just not just your body. It could be anything. It could be financial. It could be career. It could be marital. It could be as a dad. Yeah. But it's like, how do I regulate when I can feel that? So there's that. I am more accepting of myself because with depression, the biggest thing that happens with you mentally is that you lose a sense of perspective. Yeah. And so your perspective is really skewed and toward a lot of like dark things, dark spaces, negative things. Yeah. Things that sometimes aren't true. That's why sometimes you could have an anxiety attack because you have to question, is this really true? That what is happening, what I'm thinking, what I think is going to happen. Yeah. Then there's also the fact that like, it is not all bad. So that's one of the things that I like when I look in the mirror. The biggest thing that's changed is my perspective. It's not all dark. I think that, and also it's worth saying, because I don't know whoever's watching understands the context of my journey, but like I went on prescription medication for like almost 2 years. But for me personally, I'm not a medical practitioner or expert or anything, but I knew what I wanted for myself, which was I didn't want to be on the pills or the prescription medication for the rest of my life. Because I was journeying already in therapy and I had my own therapist for a while. The biggest thing that we had to deal with is how I regulate and how I process my thinking and my emotions. And so for me, it was like, I'm sure that if I did this well enough, consistently enough, I could change my lifestyle to not have to need this medication. Obviously, like it's gonna be a lot of hard work. So I've been off medication for the last 2 years. And so, but the way that I have to be aggressively consistent in regulating myself has been wild. And so I, to answer your question, I look at myself better in the mirror. It used to be really dark. It used to be not so great. I wasn't a cheerleader of myself in the mirror. And so that's shifted quite a bit. I'm not fully there. I can still see the blind spots. I can still feel where the gaps are, but it's better.
Bro, I told you, I'm like, the way you are so comfortable in owning your story is actually one of your greatest strengths. And I think I appreciate that about you.
You know why? Because you're going back to, you asked me a question, I didn't answer it. Why does it come so easy? Has it been this easy? I remember a couple of years ago at church, I don't know who was preaching, what they were talking about. I just remember like feeling that, think about Jesus, right? He's in Gethsemane. And like, someone recorded the fact that this guy was saying to God, take this cup from me. That was such a sense of vulnerability, that it's a recorded vulnerability that we centuries later, years later, are able to go to that and see that as a reference of like, this was a man and he was breaking down and he was giving up and he was asking for help. There, it's recorded. And it's not that I'm like, there needs to be a digital footprint of me being vulnerable, but I believe that what we are doing here, what you are sharing, the experience is ministering to someone, the same way Jesus' life ministered to someone. So I feel that, and obviously I don't bear everything with wisdom, but I feel that certain parts of the fight of our manhood, fatherhood, marriage, mental health, if what I'm experiencing helps someone else, bro, I don't have reason to keep it to myself.
That's beautiful, bro. You know, I mean, I went through a part of anxiety, mental health, depression, and stuff like that. And I also got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to take these pills, right? And remember, this is not us prescribing you to get off your meds, but if you are on your meds, it's us just sharing our experience. And I remember making the same decision to be like, nah, I'm good. Like, I can't be this guy. And then I remember one night where I had a crazy anxiety attack that lasted into the morning. And in the morning, I had to drive 6 hours with my mom. And I remember my mom looked at me in the morning and she said, what's going on? And I said, well, I had an anxiety attack throughout the night. And with black parents. And she says to me, hey, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
I'm sorry.
gee, she just like,
damn.
And you know how crazy, because it lasted throughout the night.
Oh, man.
But I could be gracious to my mom in that moment because I'm like, I've seen some evidences of anxiety in my mom, but they grew up in a time where or they call everything, hey, get stress. And it's like, no, you actually have an anxiety attack or you actually are depressed. It's not just stress. So I could be gracious to understand that they didn't grow up in a time where they had language for these things, right? So my question then is, what are some of the stereotypes you've seen in our Black community that you think regarding mental health that you think like we should do better at being knowledgeable, and what are the stereotypes that families, like, for example, like question. Somebody who's in that situation where they try to tell their family that they experiencing this and their family has no clue, and but hey, you stop being a crybaby. Yeah. And it doesn't help and adds more to it. What are the stereotypes we need to break, and how can somebody in that situation handle it better?
Yeah, I might cry on this one.
So good.
Because it was, I think that one great start, Lachany, which means like you guys are just like you acting like babies. This generation is soft. That's kind of like how sometimes the older generation sees the younger one. But I think that what's not said and is a reality in South Africa, I'll be more specific, is that therapy is not that affordable. Yeah. Number one. Counseling is there's therapists that are from the government. There's counseling that's offered by social workers and people don't usually take that option. Yeah. Because there's even in that, there's counseling, there's therapy, there's a psychiatrist, right? There's levels to it. The psychiatrist is the one that diagnoses you chemically, right? And gives you the diagnosis and medication. And the therapist has to recommend you to a psychiatrist to get diagnosed. The counselor doesn't have the medical certificate to make a diagnosis, but they can offer you opinion, advice, and help you regulate. Yeah. That's one. Two is that, this is the sad part, is that oftentimes we find out too late that someone was struggling internally. Yeah. And what I mean by too late is that they've committed suicide. Yeah. And you're like, Balishab, I just saw them yesterday. I did this, I did that. And so it is cheaper, easier, better, not better, to lean towards substance abuse than an emotional connection in relationship. Because the safety of me telling you, bro, I think I'm done. Yeah. Is harder than me picking up a bottle every single night when I get home by myself. And it sedates me, it numbs me. I wake up the next day, put up a face, do what I do by myself again. Then I think that, so I'm going to say it from someone would think, what did your parents say when you said you were depressed? So for me, it was a thing of, they don't have the language that we do, bro. Yeah. So I feel like it's unfair. This is one of the things that I've been having to work through, is that it's unfair for us to put an expectation on our parents to have the language and the empathy toward us, whereas they haven't received it and they don't know how to give it. So a parent only parents from the reference that they have, right? So do you. Yeah. You parent from a reference of exposure to media, to people, to community. Same for them. What happens when there's the first time someone in your family is diagnosed with depression.
Yeah.
What do I say? No, you're going to be okay. No, this is nonsense. No, don't worry, man. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because what else can I say?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know if I should. I don't know what a therapist costs. I don't know if I can take you there. I don't know where to get to a counselor. Like, I don't know how to check up on you every day. I don't know what is a trigger.
Yeah.
I'm triggered. What is a trigger?
Yeah.
Like, I've never used that language in my house, in my family, with my parents. So, like, what is a trigger? And so this is jargon for us, bro.
Yeah.
We know how to use this language freely because of what we've been exposed to. But the stereotype is that the older generation also doesn't have the muscle, the exposure, the empathy to give to those that are struggling because they don't have that reference. Yeah. Someone either has a like schizophrenia, but it's like bamuluil.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a mental issue, it's witchcraft. Yeah. Because they don't have the language of understanding that this can be diagnosed by a doctor. Yeah. Do you understand? But the exposure is that we come from tribal communities where these things happened. And so that's your point of reference. So I think that, that's the stuff that I see. And I mean, like, more recently, I lost one of my closest friends to the stuff. And, like, it was a very visceral experience for me because I've been at the edge. Yeah. And he tipped over the edge. Yeah. And it was the hardest thing to journey through, where I'm asking myself, what makes me better? Yeah. Bro, I prayed with this guy. We journeyed together. He was at my wedding. He was my boy. Yeah. And when I have to think, who do I think I am? Bro, I kid you not. We can sit here and talk about do's and don'ts. There's no formula, bro, to someone staying around. Yeah. Because those that tip over, bro, sometimes it's like, yeah, man, you really fought. Yeah. It's because the giving up oftentimes is seen as this is a cop-out, bro. You could have done better. Yeah. That's a different chat when you're there. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a privileged thing for somebody to say this is a cop-out because they never been to that line. Yeah.
And this is why I was saying that optimism doesn't come easy to the depressed. It doesn't. Yeah. You have to work really, really, really hard to be positive. Yeah. I am not the most positive person in the room, but I know that is by God's grace that I'm still here. Like, it's not things that I've done, formula, go to therapy, have a great lifestyle, gym, eat well, whatever. I'm taking no credit for it, bro. Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. I keep telling you, I appreciate your vulnerability. I think we almost out of time, but I wanna hit one thing. I remember we had
this is gonna be a wild. I know where you're going.
Yeah. I'm a phrase it like this.
Yeah.
What's the one thing, right? What's the one thing that okay? This is a marriage you know what I'm trying to say.
I know where you're going.
I'm trying to make it nice for the people. What's the one thing that God has used to shape you daily in your marriage?
That's the question, bro. Yeah. No, you got it. You hit it. You got it. You got it. It's serving. Yeah. Before I got married, before I dated my wife, and when I got saved, one of the things that really stuck out for me. I first picked up my Bible and I read and I saw Jesus serving. And I'm like, why, bro? You're the guy, bro. Why are you like, why are you playing it small? Like, you're the guy. But he served till he died. And I thought, who am I? If I'm like signing up for this thing, that's where I'm going. And I served. It was when I first came into Christianity, following Jesus, I served physically. I served at church, the chairs, the communion, the cables, the sound. I was there. And so it subconsciously, I feel like it placed a thing in my psyche that by the time I got to, and it's not I hate this word, but I can't think of a better word. It's not that you're a skivvy, but by the time I got married, to serve my wife has been what has, I feel, held our marriage. Mostly from my end. She's obviously on the receiving end. But the reason why I say that is because, so my wife digs coffee. Loves coffee, bro. Really can't do without coffee. And it's a thing. It's become a ritual. I also love coffee. I love coffee. I'm learning to be a barista just as a hobby. And that's how much I love it as well. Now, we had a really hard place in our marriage. I'm fasting, I'm praying. I'm like, God, what's the thing, bro? What am I doing? What should I do? And man, the Lord just said, make her coffee every day. Make her coffee every day. Mind you, in the funk of the hardness of where we were, that was not an easy ask. Because I was going through the most. It was when the diagnosis and the pills were like year one. And so to navigate being selfless, meaning I need to give when I'm trying to just be present and just make it by in and of myself, was hard. It was so hard to wake up, grind the beans when
not instant coffee.
No. This is not, no, I'm not talking Coffee Jacobs. No, I'm not. I'm talking put the raw beans, grind those beans, froth the milk. Attempt a latte art. And do that every day. That was hard, but I stuck to it. There were so many days that I was just like, nah, bro, I ain't doing this. I'm tired. I'm tired of like the effort. I'm tired of like, trying to be like you, Jesus, in this marriage. But I'm going to keep at it, bro. I'm going to trust that this is what you say. And it's such a fickle thing. It sounds like such a weird thing. Make coffee for your wife every day. I made coffee for my wife every day. And then months later, where it just feels like we're not out of the woods, but it's just like better than yesterday, better than last week, but better than a couple of months ago. And I remember just like hearing it from a friend say, bro, I don't know what you did, but that thing that you're doing with coffee, your wife told me that it really did the thing. It really changed something. And I'm like, you got me, God. And I was like, okay. And that was serving. And I say that to say that I feel like, and I've been having this conversation more with guys, and I can feel that there's a tension every time I say this, but I think it's important then, because every single person has a line in the sand that they draw when it comes to selflessness, to giving of themselves, to not choosing their emotion, not choosing their way of doing things, not choosing their decision or whatever. But if we are, I'm speaking to Christians here, if we are saying that I follow you, Jesus, I want to be like you, Jesus, then my friend, that guy died.
Yeah.
He died.
Yeah.
You know, when it says in the Bible, like, you have not endured temptation until, like, to the point of sweating blood.
Yeah.
Bro, like, oftentimes I'm just like, man, it's become very easy for people to leave marriage.
Yeah.
It's becoming really hard to stay in marriage.
Yeah.
There's a spiritual thing to that, but the rate of divorce is high for a reason. For a reason. It's important for us to know those reasons and see where we fall under in those stats. But I think that the way we start our marriages with God, it has to continue with God.
Yeah.
It has to end with God. And so that is a daily dying to self. It does not stop. And I'm saying it to guys even. Yeah. The ladies apart. To the guy, it says to you, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Not to her, it says it to you. And so if you are the one that's dying every day and you feel like, I'm dying every day, she's not dying. Yes, Baba. Who did he say it to? Yeah. Yes, there needs to be like a sense of like, what is the word again? Reciprocation. Yes, 100% needed for a healthy marriage. We're fine. That's given. Yeah. But when you have to account to the Lord when you die, and he says to you, did you love her like I loved you? Yeah. If you bro, I hope your answer is yes. Yeah. You know, that's it. I'm not saying I'm also not saying that I'm the guy. I'm doing it every day, but we try.
I mean, but it's a process. It's something we wake up every day as healthy men and say, this is the charge given to me to die daily. So I'm going to actually do my best in dying daily. Bro, thank you so much. This has been an incredible conversation. Yeah. Shout out, man.
Bro, and you're doing well. And I don't mean well in accolade, but I'm just like, bro, you're heeding the call. Great conversations, bro.
Thank you.
Good, bro. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. You stuck with me now.
Yeah. I got you, bro.
Stuck with me now. All right, yo. Much love. I hope this conversation actually helps you out. Ponder on some things. Remember, we're not striving for perfection, but we're really just striving to be healthy guys and women. And just live life abundantly as Christ has, promised us that, that's what we were designed to experience after the resurrection. Shout out to y'all. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, share this with anybody, and let us know how it's shaped some thoughts or changed or impacted you in any way. All right, cool. Deuce Gang, see you on the next one when humans talk. Oh my God.